Dzień dobry, assalamu alaikum, ciao, konnichiwa, bonjour, good morning, good morning, good morning. It's Ken at 10. How are you? How was your bank holiday? Did you have a good time? Hope you managed to. The weather was better than we expected, wasn't it? If you haven't been here before, welcome. Thanks for coming. My name's Ken. It's 10, and that's why we're on. We are estate agents based in southwest London, James Alexander Estate Agents, and we broadcast daily at 10 o'clock, all things property and some other stuff besides. Here in southwest 16, the weather is very bright and sunny, but actually paradoxically chilly. Very strange, but had the Arctic weather. Weird yesterday, wasn't it? Here we had the snow followed by sunshine. It was all a bit surreal, really. Snow in April, what's going on? Very strange. It must be global warming. Anyway, let's get some property news done. So lots of things going on. No more mortgages. This is something I picked up from the Times, and they say that homeowners with drafty properties could be ineligible for new mortgages as banks have begun restricting deals for homes that are not energy efficient. Paragon's new 3.99 5-year fixed deal is one of the lowest on the market, but will only be available to properties with high energy efficiency. And this is part of the new rules. And from April 2025, landlords will only be able to let to properties with an energy rating of C or above. So there'll be lots of controversy around that coming up. And the rules will apply to all tenancies from April 2028. So the knock-on effect with, the idea is that fewer landlords will want to buy inefficient homes. Buying now costs less than renting. This is interesting. First-time buyers are now saving more than £800 a year in comparison with tenants, analysis suggests. And this is an article that says that the monthly cost of renting has risen by 10% to £821 in the last year, according to the Halifax. The average monthly cost of repaying a mortgage for a first-time buyer has risen by 1% to £753 during the same period. It said that buyers in London were on average £4,606 a year better off than those renting. The narrowest gap was in Northern Ireland. Well, yeah, there's always going to be a huge difference, isn't there, between London and surrounding. Death of the office has been hugely overstated. This is an interesting article and something that we've said for a while now, as everybody's been saying that London will never recover. And, there will be things about London that will never be the same. And some of the big supermarket names, some of the big names, big brand names, Debenhams and such like, definitely all those things are changing, and it's quite sad, really. But we'll definitely see a transformation, and London will never be dead. Why? It's a fantastic city. People will still want to communicate, connect, and be in one of the best cities in the world. But this is interesting, saying the death of the physical office has been hugely overstated, according to a sector expert. Landlords unable to meet demands for safer workspaces could suffer. The latest sector review by Lismore Real Estate found that the £175 million of transactions completed in the first quarter was some 70% lower than the 5-year average. However, a stronger property investment market is being forecast for the next 3 months, with more sites being either prepped for sale or quietly marketed. Any talk of the office demise is hugely overstated, with a majority of workers keen to reconnect with colleagues, with some form of blending working likely to be the norm as restrictions begin to ease. And that's what we're seeing, isn't it? A blending of kind of, some office time, perhaps not as much office time, but definitely a blending of home working and commuting as well. And many people that we talk to, even those that are moving out of the city, are still preparing for a 1 to 3 day a week commute at least, some much longer. The highest demand for Help to Buy so far has been found in Bristol, using data from Zoopla. Benham and Reeves said. There's an article in the Express. It says that they have 60% demand, followed by Portsmouth and Swansea. London, Manchester and Liverpool tied for the number 10 spot. And he said it's clear that many are reliant on a leg up via the Help to Buy scheme. Well, that's most first-time buyers, I would say, need that leg up, and we're really interested to see how that market opens up. You'll hear it first here when we get more news on what the deals are. Internationally, apparently the global markets are booming. The global housing market is booming. And Knight Frank's Global House Price Index says that Turkey recorded the biggest jump of 30.3% in the fourth quarter of 2020 compared to the same in 2019. The UK was 12th on the index with an increase of 8.5%. So it's interesting that the market across the globe is now booming. And I think this must be an anticipation of the pandemic ending. Things are starting to, there's an expectation that things will start to get back to normal soon, hopefully. London gardens are shrinking as people extend. Well, this is something we've seen a lot of, and an article in the Telegraph says that the mapping agency found, this is the Ordnance Survey, says that garden space grew by 5% across the country between 2011 and 2021, but shrunk by 4% in London. This is as people expand their homes to accommodate offices and the like. We can see this trend actually accelerating, if anything, in London, and running out of gardens, which is always a shame, isn't it, when concrete replaces green spaces? But it is the way that London has gone over the last few years, for sure. Article from Rightmove saying that the housing market could become so frenetic that there could be nothing to sell within 2 months, the Sunday Times reports. There's never nothing to sell. People are always looking to sell, same as they're always looking to buy. You know, whenever people talk to me about how the market's dead or it's really alive or it's really bad or really good, I always say, look, 2 things are happening right now. I'm getting inquiries from people wanting to buy. I'm getting inquiries from people wanting to sell. And as long as those 2 things are happening, there is a market. Where that market sits in terms of demand and supply will always change, and you'll hear it first here in terms of what's going on. But I do think that, you know, definitely it's not going to run dry in 2 months. Just a ridiculous statement to make. Buy-to-let mortgages are flooding back to the market. The number of mortgages available for landlords has soared, with 233 products coming to the market last month alone. There are just under 2 million outstanding buy-to-let mortgages, according to Hamptons. Many landlords will be looking to remortgage over the coming months too, as 5-year deals taken out in 2016 to avoid a tax increase come to an end. Back in March 2016, there was a deluge of mortgages completed as investors rushed to beat the 3% hike in stamp duty. Mark Harris, Chief Executive Mortgage of Private Equity, SPF Private Clients, said many of those deals would have been placed on 5-year products, meaning over the next few months, landlords should be reviewing their portfolio. A lot of landlords don't do that, actually, and you should be looking out there, deciding what your strategy is, long-term or short, and then deciding whether you need to refinance your assets, because it's a good time to do it now with interest rates low. They can only go one way when they're this low, can't they? Ultimately, at some point, they will go up. I think it'll be a long while before they do. Finally, pressure grows to open up rented properties to pets. This is something that's been going on for a while now. An MP has proposed legislation backed by the RSPCA and Battersea Dogs and Cats Home, which would place limits on landlords' ability to put clauses in tenancy agreements to bar responsible pet owners. And he quotes, "It gives tenants and their pets the justice they deserve and end an uncruel and unnecessary separation while protecting landlords from irresponsible owners." This is from a Romford MP. Well, that's all very well, but here in London, quite often the cruelty comes in when tenants try and put dogs in flats with no outside space, which in my mind is very cruel too. And many of these flats have clauses in the leases which don't allow pets, particularly dogs and sometimes cats. So you do need to look, leaseholders, as to what your lease allows. And the same with landlords. Just be careful that you're not breaching your lease terms. You can, if you're a landlord and you're thinking, well, what can I do if a tenant does want pets? We use a pet premium system. And what this means is if somebody comes and says, look, I've got a pet, providing the lease allows, if it is a flat or if it's a house, then we'll normally advise the landlord to say, look, you know, perhaps look at a pet premium. This is an extra portion of rent which will cover you for the expected excess dilapidation, i.e. there's going to be a bit more in terms of pet wear and tear that you can expect, and therefore that should be added onto the rent to give you compensation at the end of the let. So that's it for today. Lots going on. I hope you're well and enjoyed your bank holiday. We'll be back same time tomorrow for another Ken at 10. Until then, stay safe, look after your friends and family, and we'll see you then. Have a fantastic